Malice at the Palace is the darkest event in NBA history. Netflix produced a documentary film about this incident. At first, the game between the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons went smoothly. However, suddenly, a fight erupted involving many people, not just the players, but also the spectators. Here's the story of Malice at the Palace. The game took place on November 19, 2004, when the NBA pitted two strong Eastern Conference teams against each other, the Indiana Pacers and the Detroit Pistons. At that time, the Pacers had to do without Reggie Miller due to an injury, but they still boasted many great names such as Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, and Steven Jackson. On the other side, the Pistons relied on stars like Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, Richard Hamilton, and Rasheed Wallace. As the defending champions from the previous season, the Pistons were a formidable opponent. Meanwhile, the Pacers were eager for revenge after losing to the Pistons in the previous season's Eastern Conference Finals. Naturally, this game was highly anticipated, especially since the Pacers wanted to present a championship ring to their legend, Reggie Miller, who was set to retire at the end of the season. The game was held at the Palace of Auburn Hills, the home arena of the Pistons. However, the Pacers managed to dominate the match. Ron Artest was nearly unstoppable, scoring 24 points, while Jermaine O'Neal shone with 20 points. The Pistons, on the other hand, struggled to score, unable to get past the formidable defense of Artest and O'Neal. Trailing from the very first quarter, the Pacers seemed well on their way to victory. In the fourth quarter, as Ben Wallace attempted to score, Artest intentionally pushed him. Offended, Wallace retaliated by pushing back the 2004 Defensive Player of the Year. A brawl between the two became inevitable. The situation escalated as other players rushed in, and in the midst of the chaos, Artest even lay down on a table. Meanwhile, a furious Wallace hurled his headband and wristband at him. Just when it seemed the fight might subside, Artest suddenly stormed into the stands after a spectator threw a glass at him while he was lying on the table. The situation worsened when Artest struck the wrong person, prompting other spectators to join in the chaos. Seeing their teammate charge into the stands, Jermaine O'Neal and Steven Jackson followed him. With the situation completely out of control, they too became involved in the melee. In the end, the Pacers players were escorted off the court as enraged Pistons fans pelted them with various objects. Even a chair was thrown. Following the incident, American media extensively covered the chaotic events of that fateful game between the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons. Malice at the Palace became a headline-grabbing scandal. NBA Commissioner David Stern eventually handed down suspensions to those involved. Ron Artest received an 85-game suspension, Steven Jackson 30 games, Jermaine O'Neal 15 games, and Ben Wallace 6 games. These punishments dashed the Pacers' hopes of capturing a championship. Clearly, Malice at the Palace stands as the darkest moment in NBA history. Although the Palace of Auburn Hills, the site of the incident, was demolished in 2017, the memory of that night will forever haunt the players and everyone involved.